All right, let's get this axle wrapped up. We just got a few last things we got to do. First, we're going to put on the wheel hub. Let's go to the bench. I got to do some greasing and that type of stuff, but let's prepare the hub to get thrown on here. All right, a couple notes. When I took these off, I was smart enough to punch this twice and label these bearings as number 2, that these bearings went with this side and these bearings go with this side. And because I replaced these bearings about 4,000 miles ago, and I had a feeling they would be good. I've cleaned them up with brake clean, and I see no wear at all, and the races look good as well. And then also the rotors, they've got lines on them, and you could barely feel it. You know, the new rotors are expensive, as well as I priced just having these turned. I mean, it'd just be nice to have a nice clean surface, but it was like 70 bucks per piece or something. It just seemed ridiculous. So I'm going to run these and some new brake pads that will mesh right into that, no problem. And then as far as this, I'm going to pack the inside of this cavity here with some grease, and then get these hand packed. I don't have the tool to do that, but you just do the typical thing. Let me get that done. I'm going to go ahead and get both of these backside bearings installed and get the seals. I got new seals for it. Get those installed, and then we'll flip them on their back and then take care of the front bearings. And the only difference between these bearings realistically is the inside diameter. The larger diameter goes on this back side. This is the back side of the rotor, but you got to put the bigger one in first and then the smaller one on the other side. Let me get that all greased up. All right, I did get a new nut and lock washer kit. Got these two plus 2 more pieces as well. The smaller, thicker diameter washer goes on first, keyed on that and that gap on our spindle. This is going to go on, and we're going to torque this down to 50 foot-pounds. Alright, and then we've got to back it off one flat. Okay, so I can see a point of my socket here and a point of the socket here. I'm going to bring this point back to where it gets to this position. Right there. Now that's preloaded our bearings just like they want them. We got this thinner washer, it's a little bit wider. This is going to be a tabbed lock washer. We're going to bend this over. Again, we're going to put that keyed. Also the 50 foot valve. And the last thing we want to do is take that thinner washer right back here and bend it over against this flat so this thing won't rotate. So that's going to lock this nut, and this nut is a jam nut against the other nut, so this whole thing doesn't rotate, and we keep that solid pressure on those bearings. So I think this is going to be tough to get it started, but once I get it started, it'll go pretty good. Okay, so that's going to keep that nut from backing off. I'm going to get the other side caught up, and then we'll work on the calipers. These are the calipers that I did take off this axle at the beginning of this little project. And while I was doing sandblasting, I sandblasted them and I coated them with VHT paint. Here's a caliper paint up to 900 degrees. That should be good. My intention was to go ahead and just reuse these. Now, these aren't the original from the Jeep. I put these on, I'm going to think about 4,000 miles ago. They only got 4,000 miles on, but they got a lot of years. because the Jeep didn't get a lot of use overall. So I do want to rebuild them, and while I was cleaning them up, I actually kind of messed up this boot, so I wanted to do that. I bought a kit, AC Delco, but I don't think this is the right kit, so I want to get this apart and validate this is right or not. I think this diameter is bigger than the old one, but anyway, you know, these kits are like $4 per kit, so if this is not the right one, I'll order the right one. But I want to try and get this out, and I think the best way to do that is we're going to put some compressed air in here and see if it'll pull it out. If not, we'll figure out something else. Okay, so after taking this out, this will clean up. This will all clean up, but what I don't like is someone has pounded on this, which is deformed. If you can see that right there, where that's all deformed. So and it's really just this outside dust boot that affects. But I'm gonna go pick up a couple new calipers, obviously probably just some rebuilt ones, and see if we can fare that way. These went fine. These weren't leaking or anything like that, but I just rather have better products on this thing. So let me go pick up some new calipers and we'll continue. All right, so as painful as it is, sometimes you got to draw back and punt, right? I had good intentions, but since I just don't want to put something damaged on this thing, I'm just getting it restored. So I just want to compare the old ones to the new ones, and that all the bracketry looks the same. It's got these slides right here. So these are the same. Let's actually see if it's got a Bendix. Oh, it's a Bendix. Bendix part is right. 8366R. Okay, so these are the same. These will go back as cores. You know, these go back. They send them to some third world country, and they do what I was going to do, and they'll actually bend this up, put a $3 kit in this, and resell this for 50 bucks. So, but we're going to let them do it. Oh, it came with a new bolt, a new copper washers. That's good. Came with a bleeder valve. That's good. I think I got some from another project. I got some of those self-bleeding. I'm going to see if that'll fit in there. I may swap that out, but these look super good. I'm going to see if we can let's get these installed over on the axle. All right, I got a little pack of brake grease. I'm going to grease all the little moving parts. Obviously everything except for, not going to touch the rotor surface or the brake pad surface. But all these pieces where it slides, we just want a thin layer of this grease. Okay, next is the inside pad. As well as the inside pad, it comes in contact with the brake caliper on that piston. So there's an area here in the back that we need to. This is going to keep from squeaking too much. This is not clean hand. This is not going to be dirty hand. So here's the piston. Something like that. All right, this is going to be installed. We also need this in contact with the back of the caliper. It does in a couple of strange places. There. All this area here. This little guy. Then this gets installed. Go ahead and install this on the caliper, like so. And then we're going to drop this in here like so. This new caliper came with a new locking bracket, a spring, and the retaining bolt. So we're going to use this. I'll put a little bit on this spring. So the caliper also came with this little anti-squeak piece. I know what it is. I just don't know in this application where it goes. You know, this little tab here somehow goes and touches the rotor just so it squeals, letting you know your brake pads are loose. But I can't, if it goes like that, I can't see where it would fit, or even the other side. You know, this is the mounting area right in here. That's the squeaker piece there, and it's got to face the either piece like that or like that. There's just nowhere, so I think in this application is not needed. It's definitely not needed to make the brakes work. It's just basically to help you identify when the pads are low. So if you know where this goes, inside or outside, top, bottom, I'd appreciate it, because I can always snap this back on, but otherwise I'm just not going to run this. Alright, this is the four-wheel drive locking hub. This is a super winch. I probably put these on this Jeep maybe 20,000 miles prior to this rebuild, and they've held up extremely well. I went in and cleaned them up, added a little more grease to them, and now we're going to go and get these installed. Alright, let's just check this. So it's in two-wheel drive right now, and it actually has a little detent where it stays in two-wheel drive. It doesn't stay in four, but I think now we got it locked in. There's a detent there and a detent there, so that's going to work. Two-wheel drive should unlock it. Yep, there we go. Once all that grease gets moved around, it'll be leaving a little bit easier. But so now we're unlocked, and now we're locked. So I got one more thing I want to install on this axle. I want to get the tie rod on. I got a brand new tie rod. Let's get that installed, and then we'll call this thing complete. So it did seem a little silly showing you how to push this thing up and bolting it on, but I did get this torqued down to 70 foot-pounds, got a cotter pin in it. I did, before I installed this, I actually made sure that these tie rod ends were actually all screwed in. They pushed them in as far as they would go, so they're even on both sides, this side and the other side of the vehicle. And then I know that my original measurement from center of ball joint to center ball joint was 43 inches. So now I'm going to unscrew this out because it is too small. Unscrew this out to that, and then I'll get these jam nuts tightened down. And I also got a new connecting rod, and I'll get that installed here. All right, here's what we ended up with. Check out the size of these connecting rods and tie rods. They're pretty big. Let me show you that compared to stock. Here's what stock was. That looks like maybe just a hair over an inch, and this is a lot bigger than that. But anyway, I think that's going to be a great upgrade. I am going to 33-inch tires with this project, so this is obviously going to help. Plus, this stuff here is 40-something, 43 years old. You can just wiggle that. It's just, all that stuff's got to replace. It's wearable stuff. I call it consumables. And so I do have the jam nuts here tightened. These are not tightened because I got to figure out all that after we get it installed. But I'm gonna get the wheels back on this, get it pushed to the side, and then we got some other things to go over. If you'll give me a few more minutes of your time, I want to talk about a couple of the upcoming projects, and a couple more. I almost can't sleep at night thinking about them and all the research I've already done. Let me share that stuff with you here just a second. All right, let me try and keep this kind of short. So I got 3 big things that are happening next. They're going to happen almost simultaneously, but I do have the critical path is getting my frame situated so I can actually start bolting those 2 axles back up. I've already got a complete suspension package ready to be bolted on, just waiting for the frame. Speaking of the frame, my original 79 frame, it actually was diamond a little bit. When I bought the Jeep, it had been wrecked. I measured diagonally and it's 1 inch off. And I did some checking around in my local area, and there's only like 2 out of a whole bunch of shops that say they do frame work. Only 2 were willing to kind of touch the frame, and the price was $900 to get it straightened. Well, I was gonna head down that route, just kind of get it done, and then I popped up and I found a perfectly good 82 or 84 frame for $300. And I said, you know, that's saving $600 just swapping out the frame. So I've picked up that other frame. It does need a little bit of work. I got to get that stuff worked. I'm either going to just kind of grind it down and then finish it with some paint, or I might take it to a guy that does the it's the mobile blasting. What is that? Can't think of the name of it at the top of my head, but you know, get it in a good condition where I can get some paint on it and get it protected, and we'll start bolting that up. Simultaneously to working on that and getting that stuff in, I got a bunch of other parts coming in for 2 other big projects. One is, you know, I've got the original seat, which is in good condition. The material's not that great, and my plans all along was to do upholstery work on that and get that and the front seats all matching, and maybe even a roll bar cover that matches that type of stuff. But I found on Facebook Marketplace a fold and tilt rear seat out of I guess it's a YJ, maybe an 89 YJ, and it was dirt cheap, so I picked that up. I think I want to upgrade my back seat to this fold and tilt seat, and I've already picked it up. It's actually sitting in the other room. But I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and buy the material and start doing some upholstery work. I want to get that upholstery off, get the cushions, make sure all the foam is in good condition, or replace it, and then do some really fine upholstery work. I'll save a lot of the details on upholstery in my sewing background for that video that'll come out. But and then the other thing that actually just kind of keeps me up at night, because I kind of think about it, and I've done probably 30 hours worth of work and some coating already, and that is, again, my Jeep project. I'm trying to keep the overall look kind of an old school look, not a bunch of whole new things, whatever. So I am going to change out. So I've got the original steering column. I'm going to keep this original steering column. I'm going to go with a new, I'm going to buy a new Grant steering wheel. That's something you'd buy in the 80s, right? But I'm going to take the cover off that steering wheel, and I'm going to put on there the heated steering wheel element that goes on there. And then I'm figuring out how to get that wired through the old school column. And then I've got a set of switches, and I've got a controller. I got a switch bank, some controllers, and some other components, clock spring, that type of stuff. All this 5 pieces that my Jeep didn't have, but when I get done, I'm going to have a solution for heated steering that no other CJ that I know of has. And might be even a neat solution for a lot of people with any kind of an older hot rod with an old GM or Dodge steering column. Might be able to kind of institute some of these types of things. So I've already wrote some program, and I've got some things working. So things are progressing on that front. But I just think that's going to be cool. The old Grant steering wheel is just something, you know, back in the 80s, that's what you did. You ran up to the local auto parts store and you bought your Grant steering wheel, put it on your hot rod. But anyway, that's kind of some neat stuff. So if you want to see that type of content, I consider subscribing so we can see you on the next one. Thanks.
Jack it up.